Hey there, and we're going live. How you guys doing? Here I am, your Sensei Al Bob, your Griot Sensei Al Bob, coming to you on our channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And a little disclaimer, hey, this is just for entertainment's sake. Don't believe anything I say. Check it out for yourself. So here it is, July 17th, something like that, whatever. And same as it ever was. It seems like we're on some roller coaster ride, but we have been in a roller coaster ride pretty much I can remember Korean War roller coaster ride. I remember, you know, living in New York City and Long Island with my grandma, and we take the trolley car up the Sunrise Highway, and we could take the trolley plus a nickel. It would take us all the way from Freeport all the way into Long Island City, right? And it would cost a nickel, right? And it would trundle along, and you'd see all this great stuff. There was a place we'd go by that was a big, continually like roller coaster, merry-go-round, other rides, a circus tent, a show. It was always there. It wasn't moving around. It was there. It was like the entertainment of that neck of the woods. And the closer we got to New York City, the more people were, the more diversity there was. It was really pretty amazing, and but it was still racist. Jim Crow was even in Long Island, meaning my grandma and I would sit in the back because when she was living there, as in her 20s and 30s, being Italian and dark skinned, she had to sit in the back of the trolley. And it was still that way. I mean, she didn't have to sit that way then, and she was with me. I was a little white boy in my camel's hair coat and Brooks Brothers suit. And you look at me now and it's like, whoa, this guy's getting his clothes out of the garbage, and I do. I get everything off the street, and I don't even go to Goodwill. That's too expensive. And so it was, pretty amazingly racist then. It still is, hasn't changed. Nothing's changed, and that's the beauty of Donald Trump. He is bringing. I mean, with Obama being president, he was as racist as Donald Trump in his own strange way. And that's the Democratic Party has become the Republican Party. The George Bush, um, you know, Ronald Reagan Party. That's what the Democrats are now. Now there's two parts. There's what they call progressive, like Bernie. Bernie's no socialist. But he always calls himself that because his handlers tell him to say that. There isn't any. There are very few free-thinking minds in our legislators. We have the best legislators money can buy. So what has to change is the people. America only works is when the people are working. Right now, I'm involved in getting people. Um, John, so you don't do anything. You're so lazy. Well, no. I'm here waiting for some political people to show up, and there's four different people I'm trying to help to get into the state legislature. They're really good people, and I have been kind of bugging them for a long time to run, and they are right. And there is the video on Dreamy Dreamland. It's like 2 or 3 back of last Saturday's little kind of thing of Darlene. And I have a interview of her that goes back maybe 10. So and I'm going to do another one or two of her, and so I'm a busy guy. I'm involved in lots of other things. I don't get paid for anything, but they're all me being the pebble in the pond, and that's what we all have to be, that pebble in the pond. That's who you guys are, the adepts, And last night went on for 4 hours, 4 minutes and 44 seconds, and told lots of stories, and that's a life lived. The stories I tell are, pretty much what happened? I mean, if you go to X rated, I mean, XRATTED, X rated blogspot.com, you will see my writings, right? Now, when I write, I do take artistic license. I change the names to protect the guilty and innocent and anybody else who needs to be protected. And that's the whole thing. It's like, when apartheid fell and, you know, um, our brother who had been in prison, you know, um, came and became president, first black president, um, Nelson Mandela. And, he said, no, we're not going after these people, killed us, raped us, imprisoned us, treated, enslaved us. We are not going to go after them. Right? That's the only reason why South Africa didn't end up into a bloodbath. And he lasted as long as he could. And then, you know, politics always kind of goes to the middle of the road, and then the individual legislators basically get involved for their own self-interest, money, power, etc. And they pick a ideological point of view to represent so they can get elected, and that's what Donnie did. You know, what Donnie really shows is that America has always been a racist place. The whole white European world is a racist place. The small population, the Greeks, the Romans, the English, the Spanish, that whole cabal of the Reich, and Germany was the Third Reich. Well, they weren't. They were still Rome. They were just a little more wild and crazy about things. And so you can't. You need to hold people responsible, but you don't need to lynch them, hang them. And when Donnie said, when Charles, that place in Virginia where the racist conflict happened, he said there's some good people on both sides and both people are to blame. Well, not really. When you have this one group of 1,200 or 2,000 people at night marching with tiki torches, revisiting um, the marches in Germany before World War II, no, we will not let Jews, you know, no, no, that's those guys weren't good people. Now they were misplaced, and at a certain point, like there's the thing about Roanoke is it's this totally cosmopolitan city, whereas Lexington, Lynchburg, even the capital, these places are cracker towns, right? They represent the worst characteristics of white misogyny, racist, power-hungry slobs. Well, Roanoke, because the railroad and transportation, has always been a place where people came and gone, so it was always a cosmopolitan place, right? And what's really interesting about Roanoke, within the city itself, there are these little hamlets like Grandin, Southeast, Southwest, Garden City, Vinton, Salem, and there's a really interesting flair about this town. Anyway, this place called Garden City, we somethingville, Charlestonville, or wherever University of Virginia is, and that big brouhaha went down. We don't have to import, the KKK or the Nazis. They're here in Garden City. I used to live right next to them, and in that little hamlet, this little gas station had this lady had the best frigging biscuit, So I'd go have breakfast there. They had pretty good Wi-Fi. I'd sit there just like I do here, and I'd sit there, and all the homeboys would come in and like I'd be like, "Who is this guy?" And my hair was a little longer, and I really looked like Albert Einstein on acid, and I wasn't, I was like, and I was like the Michelin man. I was like a gigantic blimp. I was like around 400 pounds, and I had died a few months earlier. Hey, Eden, good to see you, buddy. Uh, Yeah, Shawshank Redemption. Yep, that was a great movie and a great script. Stephen King really can do some great movie scripts. Anyway, so I was there, and I would come and have like my table, and I have it covered with my laptop and my phone and books, and I'd be writing and typing. And these guys, what are you doing? Who are you? What are you? And I said, well, hi, I'm just, this is a great biscuit. She makes great coffee. And who are you? And how you doing? And we started talking. And because I never, ever said, oh, you're deplorable, like, meaning it was nothing in this country never goes down without being scripted. This whole Donnie thing, he's reading off a script, you know? And when he goes, I don't have a racist bone in my body, I'd like to know where that bone is. What is the racist bone? Is it over here? Is it over here? And really what he should say, I don't have a human bone in my body because Donnie is outside the frame. To be human, to be a mammalian Homo sapien sapien, one of the key components of that is empathy. Donnie doesn't have too much of that, except for himself. Boo hoo hoo. Oh, everyone hates me. But he still thinks he's on the set of The Apprentice. You know, he thinks he's in a green screen. And he probably is. Mike Pence is probably running, or somebody above Mike Pence. All these guys are middle management, right? All the all of the legislators and judges, they aren't even management. They're worker drones, right? Below us, we're the expendables. So anyway, so I hung out in this gas station coffee shop for about a year because I had no place else to go. I lived right nearby it, and for 99 cents, I could get a steak biscuit that was made from scratch. It was like, yeah, and I still had teeth to be able to chew steak. So I talked to them, and what after a while they said, you're okay, because you listen to us, and then you ask us a question that we kind of go, never thought about that. It made them think, and within a year, they kind of changed. They became part of the cadre, right? And yes, they still, came from this disenfranchised white, scene. Half of them had gone to Vietnam and got blown up and got stuck on heroin, and they didn't have a good life, and they felt ripped off, and they were abused, and but they were blaming immigrants and black folk for that, right? And there was another restaurant near me. It was called Angelo's. It was best Mexican. This little Mexican husband and wife. They looked like hobbits, and they came from the mountains of central Mexico, and they had amazing, amazing food. And Angelo had, when he got here, had worked in a couple restaurants, and then he went and worked at the FBI, running the dining room for the executive. So congressmen, senators, and all the FBI executives would eat in this place, and he would make them this amazing food, and they all loved Angelo. And then he, had to retire. He hit that age, and they said, "Well, Angelo, here's your watch, and here's your." And he wasn't ready to retire, so he came with his sons, and they, came into Vinton and bought up a whole bunch of stuff. There were Italian families, Portuguese families, who came with a little bit of money that they'd made in like D.C. or Philly or New York, and bought it and bought up chunks of real estate like for nothing, right? And then fixed them up and became landlords. And Angelo did the same, but he bought this one little building downtown Vinton that was like the size of a shoebox. And it had, you could see maybe 12, 15 people in that place. And he had an upstairs dining room for parties. And he would, and so those guys would come from DC to have lunch there. And everybody who really understood the quality of his food were there. So there were all these like really movers and shakers from all over Virginia who would come and eat at Angelo's. And I would eat there all the time. And Angelo and he knew everyone's name. Everyone knew, and he was Angelo, Mrs. Angelo, and he knew everyone's name. So when I, went in there, maybe 16 years ago, when I bought a few buildings in there, I bought it from one of the Italian families who, after 9/11, they want to go back to New York and, you know, represent. Anyway, so I was a landlord in that little hamlet, and someone told me about Angelo, so I walked over there one day, and when I first went there, he opened from about 7 in the morning to 2, and then from 2 to 4:30 was his like siesta time, or when he went out and went to Sam's and bought stuff. So I kind of stroll in about 1:15, right? There's nobody there. Everyone's had their lunch and left, and it's just me. And he's back behind the counter doing stuff. And I sit there. I'm um, looking at, and he's got this menu up there. He's got like 8 things. That's all he's got. And steak tacos, steak enchiladas, a Mexican omelet, and a few other things. Big, great. If you like burgers, he had the best burgers in town. And so, anyway, I don't say anything. He walks by me, how you doing? And he kind of just, shakes his head. And and I go, I think I'll have. He puts his finger up like this, right? And he's got the neon sign out in the front window, it's open, right? And I got there at 1:15. He closes at 2, right? So I wait, and and I wait another 10 minutes. And I said, and he's like finished, and now he's doing the crossword puzzle, right? And I'm sitting right there, and I go, can I have? And he does this, right? And he walks by, and he fills up a cup, of coffee, and he puts it down. Like, he didn't say, "Do you want coffee or do you want a Coke?" Or he just knew that I kind of wanted coffee, so I drink in the coffee, and I look around, and I go for the paper, and he puts his hand on it and goes like this, right? And I go, and he just takes out the editorial page and the world news page and hands me that. The rest, the sports, the front page, you know, I don't get that. But he was right. That's all what I wanted to read was those 2 things in my, horoscope. He used to book a horrible scope. Anyway, so I'm waiting for him to take my order. And it turns, the thing hits 2 o'clock. He goes over to the window and turns off the open, neon sign and goes, "Come back at 4:30. I was there for 45 minutes. He could have made me my little omelet if I wanted. But I knew not to get upset. I go, "Okay, see you later." And so I said, "So what I call you?" He goes, "Angelo." And I said, "Oh, you can call me." He goes like this. He goes, "No, you are sir." And I said, "Okay." So for the next 14 years, he knows everyone's, "Hey, Joe, hey, Bob." I'm always, "Sir, can I help you?" "Sir." I mean, with unbelievable deference, "Sir," right? And then we became best of friends, right? I came back at 4:30, and he knew what I wanted. He made me it's like, I went in there at 1:15, wanting breakfast, and he made me a Mexican omelet. That's what I wanted. I didn't even tell him, he just and he made me potatoes just like I like them. He made an amazing meal, right? And he gave me sour cream and salsa that he makes himself, and the stuff with the avocados, and it cost me all of $8, right? And for the rest of the year, even when his prices came up, that's all I pretty much would have is that, and he'd always charge me $8, right? And then I had money, so I pay him $8 and give him $10 tip. It's like we had this beautiful little dance, and I would always come in pretty much, unless I was really hungry and had to do something. But there was one seat in the corner no one liked because she kind of sat in the corner, and that was like mine. It had a table I could spread out. It's like a little table, and that was always, no matter how crowded that place was, I was always waiting for me. And it was like Angelo's office too. If I wasn't sitting at that table, it was like with his checkbook and the mail and other stuff there. And he had a chess set, We used to play chess. He'd keep that at the table. Anyway, most times I would go there, at about 1:15, and he'd, have my cup of coffee waiting, and the omelet would be there right away, and then he'd sit down, and we'd talk over the newspaper, and then we'd play a little chess, and then I showed him Go, and we had this, and I was always serve, good to see you, sir, and he was amazing. And that's Roanoke. There's all of these. There's this place called the Texas Tavern right in the middle of town. It's been running since 1928 consecutively. They're open 24/7, 365. They don't even close for Christmas, right? And I used to live downtown in one of the, you know, city buildings, and I was one of the first people to like hang out. It was like having a loft. There's this whole floor of an office. I knew a real estate person, and they had just bought the building, and they hadn't really, you know, they were going to wait a while. And I said, "Hey, can I live in it?" "Sure." Just change the light bulbs in the home, sweep out things. If we need you to fix anything, you can do that. And so once again, that's how I lived. That's how I lived in New York for like 30 years. It's like every place I've ever lived. If I didn't buy the place, I was living there in auspices of the owners, and just fixing things, and that's kind of what I do for John. I do a lot of stuff for him, which he never gives me any credit for or thanks me for. All he does is complain and blame because I'm the only person. That's what a therapist does. He lets the individual vent. I let John vent, and he wants to blame me, accuse me. I know I didn't do any of that stuff, and then he feels bad. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't leave me." You know, and we all do that on some level. We treat the people who love us the worst. Why do you think divorce is up so high? Um, so that's Roanoke. It's got all of these little, and that's why I've stayed here so long, because it's me as a social scientist. I don't have to go anywhere. I can study every aspect of American society right here. Hey, Rhonda, always good to see you, girl. Uh, yeah, too bad. I used to, back in the day when I had a healing practice in New York City, I used to get $1,800 from this one family. Where I lived in their, really nice Fifth Avenue. They had a house on Fifth Avenue, kind of just down the street from um, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's like J.P. Morgan's kind of. These people talk about well-to-do. These guys were well-heeled, and you know, I was stayed there, and they had a cook, they had a chef, they had staff, they had a chauffeur, they had a garage where they had their car. And the guy would fix it, but I lived there, and and they had teenage kids, and an older daughter who had a kid, and they themselves lived there, but not really. That they had houses all over the world, so they would go all over the place, right? And you know, so I was there, and they paid me $1,800, and I would make food. Even though they're chef, I would make a meal, because I would muscle test everybody, see what they needed to eat. And the chef really, she was a nutritionist. She really got into what I was doing, and within a short time, she picked it up, and we would make the menus every week for what these people needed to eat. And I just sat there and listened to them and helped them, and I would do my shamanic healings. The husband, more than the wife, was into this, because he could really. I mean, he was so stressed and so angst out. He Because he was the only son of this extraordinarily rich family, and he felt he had all this responsibility to carry on the name and the you know. And he was a nice guy. He didn't want to be continue the rich person hegemony. Very well educated, very well read. I mean, he was more a poet than anything, right? So, I basically said, listen, you got all these companies your family's built, and they're running. You don't have to run them; let them run themselves. Just go to the board, meeting, and I used to go with him once in a while to read his. So they, for almost a year, I got $1,800 cash every week, and a free place to live, and they eat, and they would buy me my clothes. You want a car, and John does not appreciate what I do. He doesn't even understand what I do. I mean, on a certain level, he does. When he's balanced, he does, right? When he's this and that, he does that 15 times a day. And that's why he's so wigged out and why he's so freaked out about, getting cancer or this or that. Because, the thing that it's not us working out or even what we eat. I mean, my sensei once was trying to tell us, he was teaching us intent. And one time, I mean, so we lived this monasterial life, but once a month, we would get in the car and drive down to Putney to the Holiday Inn, which was a groovy place. They had a restaurant that had a band on Thursday nights and Friday nights and Saturday nights. And we would go one night a month to one of those days and get drunk. And I don't drink, so I'd be the designated driver. And one night, Sensei would come along with us. And, he's got his bald head and his orange robes, and he'd be just sitting there, he had his little prayer beads, and he'd have a little smile on his face, and he'd enjoy that everyone was having a good time. And we'd get in, and we'd head off. But we were talking about, should we eat organic? Well, it doesn't matter, it's intent. And that's why people pray before they have a meal, because back in the day, they knew how to energetically put, and that's what Jesus did with his first miracle of wine into water. And so he once said, watch this. He said to the waitress, hey, bring me 2 bottles of your cheapest vodka, the well. And so she goes, okay. And she brings her, and he just takes off the cap, blah, 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 blah. He drank 2 bottles of vodka like in less than 3 minutes. He drank it like water. No alcohol poisoning, no, being unbelievably drunk, and but he smelled booze. Of course, everybody was smelling of booze. Even I, who wasn't really drinking, smelled the booze because of how boozed everyone was. We get in a car. And he goes, I'll drive. I said, you never drive. You don't even have a driver's license. Come on. I'm the designated, so no, I'll drive. I said, okay. So we get in, and of course, there is, a roadblock for drunk drivers, because this is the night that they know people are coming out of the Holiday Inn to have a good time. And so we get, pulled over because the guy, car after car stops, and the guy leans his head in. Check back in a minute. Yo, Miss D, I'll take a little hot coffee. Yeah. And freshen me up.
Yeah, that's Wendy.
Yeah. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. Yes.
And so, yes, they should, And they know they should, but, they know they can, I'll do it for nothing, Because with John, yes, I do need a place. I only come back to Roanoke because all my doctors are here. And so, and it's not like I come for one day and I see everybody. No, it usually takes 2 or 3 weeks to go through the whole Michigash. So, I left the school in April and stayed away until the middle of May. Came back to my doctoring thing, and then went back, went June 10th or so, and stayed away until, last Saturday. And that's what I'll do all summer, right? And I have my eye surgery and at the end of this month. And then I'm trying to get these people elected. So I'm going to stick around and help strategize and organize their crew, get them a crew. And then I'm going to leave because it's up to them to get elected, not me. Right? I can help them, but I can give them momentum. I can kind of be that pebble in the pond. Yes, so John's family should pay me, but one of the things that they did that John would go ballistic, right? And he really think I was the spy. He thinks that, you know, the aliens, his father, the dogs, and I are against him. You know, if I was getting paid by the the family, he really. So anyway, but it's all good because the universe is taking care of me because I am serving love's co-creation, right? I'm not Jesus. I'm not God. I'm not some super duper superhero. No, I am just your Griot Sensei Mob, helping you, my cadre, to be that pebble in the pond yourselves in your own little neighborhoods, because that's all it's going to take. Nothing big and drastic or gigantic movement, and not really, So anyway, we've been talking now for, look at that, 30 minutes and 30 seconds. So it's all good. It's to be castigated and accused and treated poorly every day, every day. And back a year and a half, he threw me out 26 times in the middle of winter. It was unbelievable, But it was okay because, instead of me going, oh, what am I going to do? I said, fine. I got tired of dealing with John, so I said, fine. Got the car. I mean, he didn't expect me to just get in the car and drive away and not come back, right? Which I did, and I had many adventures, and I would come back, and there were many times, to be thrown out 26 times in the space of 4 months. I would come back sometimes where he'd leave. I mean, you should see my phone. I don't get rid of any of the texts John sent me. And he will text me 20, 30 times a day off the hook, And so oh, please come back. Oh, I need you. Oh, please, I'll be nice. And I'd be someplace, 60, 70 miles. I'd spend my last $20 to fill the car up with gas to make it back. And I would get there around dark 30, and he would throw me out again. So there is a level of John could do almost anything to me at any moment. And so that within the simulator and that's how I see John for me is he's a simulator. He keeps me on my toes, keeps me awake, He allows, not allows, but he got me into doing this for you guys, If it wasn't for John, I would not be doing this like Chad. I wouldn't have Dreamy Dreamland, right? Because he kept videotaping me, without even asking me. He'd be like, he videotapes everything, right? He can't interact, when he's talking to people, he'll be like this, looking at them at the screen, and they're standing right in front of him. And so, the story of Jimi Hendrix and the story of the old Pone and all the ceremonies I did were things I was just doing, and he took it without asking me and put it on his YouTube, and then they went viral, right? And I didn't even know they were there until he started telling me, oh, wow, I'm making so much money. How are you making money? Oh, I'm doing this YouTube thing. I'm making about $1,200 a month. Oh, it's really great. And when he kind of threw me out, it broke the chain of that because I wasn't there. He threw me out, right? So, and one of the things he would get upset about was that people tell him to shut up because they just wanted to hear me tell stories. And they loved the energy coming over the YouTube on his channel. Now, he had been doing it since 2006, so he had a following of, 200,000. I got a following of 320. And so, but I'm all up because you should have 10,000 people watching, not 2. No. The 2 people, right now, there's 2 people watching. Those are the 2 people who will get it, who will appreciate it, who will be the pebble in the pond. That's what I'm after, I'm all about the shamanic ceremony, right? And that's what this is right now. And that's why when you go back, I've done more than 600 shows in the last year, and they're all, you go to them, they're like they're live, because they're all a shamanic ceremony. They all are packed up with energy of healing. And And as my teacher used to say, Master Akacha K, all things are as they should be. No matter how bad you think things are, they can always be worse. Things are as they should be. Wake up, learn from what you're going through. So, John, like I said, keeps me awake, keeps me on my toes. He's my friend. I want to see the best outcome for him. So I don't give up on the guy. I keep plugging away. I don't need to be at school. I could be someplace else. And he threw me out 26 times. And he did that so I would know, okay, I don't need to be here. I can be, because all those 26 times, I went and found something else, people to be with that needed my help and was exciting and interesting. And, and I would be in places that, I didn't really get any cell signal, so I didn't get his 27 text messages a day. So, I remember one time I went into a place and my phone was, normally when I drive, my phone is off and, I don't use it, period. And so it was on, it was in the glove box, and it just went bing, 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 bing. It wouldn't stop. It went bing, 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 for like 10 minutes. So when I finally got to where I was going, I, took the phone and looked at the messages, and he had sent me, some days he sent me 75 text messages in one day because I wouldn't answer, because I was in a place that didn't, where are you? What are you doing? How come you're not talking to me? What's going on? And that's because he threw me out and I went someplace that didn't have cell and I was involved in something else. And so, I kind of called, oh, please come back, please, I'll pay you to come back, please come back, please come back. And I said, hey, John, I'm involved in something. I'll be back soon. And I said, I'm in a place where I haven't answered your text. I thought you were dead. What's on that? I'm so worried about you. And I said, John, it's because I'm in a place that doesn't get cell signal. How can that be? I said, well, because, I don't pay $600 a month for my phone. I pay like 12. It's not the best of service. It's not everywhere. Yeah, it's pathological. Yeah. But that's our society. We live in a pathological society. Every corporate head, every banker, every judge, every politician, every doctor, they're all pathological. And not all the time, and you can navigate through that. But it's pretty much, you have to be awake. I mean, everyone in our society is pathological. We all are at some time when we're unconscious, right? And that's really, part of what pathological is being unconscious, right? So, so I said, okay, John, I'll give you a call. Okay, and so I kind of wrapped up whatever I was doing, and or it was time to go, and I, said, okay, John, I'll call you a couple of days, um, before I show up. I'll give you a heads up, so you won't have to be all angst out. I won't be surprised, or, blah, blah, blah. He goes, okay, yeah, please show up. So I showed up, and I didn't last more than 26 minutes before he threw me out again. And it was in the middle of a snowstorm, and I got there at 3 o'clock. It was like February-ish. And, I had no place to go except my friend Rev, who I talked to last night, who's an amazing guy. He was, when he got cashiered out of the army, he had no money and he was next to death. And a friend of him gave him a, slipstream kind of RV, and that guy had it parked in one of those storage areas. And Rev used to live in it, and he would go there and, at night and like bundle up and go to sleep, and then, wake up when the sun would rise, and he would, drive to the library and stay the whole day in the library. And that's how I met Rev. We were both librarian guys. Anyway, so, I was there 20, and it was getting dark. And I said, John, you cancel me out. There's about to be a snowstorm, and it's like 9 degrees below zero, and it's dark, and I can't see you. Get out, you're making me anxious. It's all your fault. My life sucks. It's because of you. And I said, okay, John. Instead of trying to spend 3 hours to talk him down, I said, fine, see ya. And once I got to go, where are you going? I So you're kicking me out. Well, where are you going? What are you going to do? I said, you should have thought of that 5 minutes ago when you threw me out, you know. But where are you going to go? I thought we could talk. I said, no, you're not talking. You're screaming at me and you're throwing me out. So see ya, bye. Don't want to make you anxious. But. And I just drove away. And I drove to where that slipstream thing was because Rev wasn't there. He was out of town. He said he gave me the key to the thing and the code to get in. And he said, you can go there anytime you really need it. So I did. So I spent, kind of 4 or 5 days in that ice box, reliving what Rev went through. And John kept, oh, you can come back, you can come back. And then I kind of found something else to do. And no, I didn't come back. Sorry, you know. And he kept, oh, please. And I didn't, I was downtown. But he was so agoraphobic, he couldn't come down. I said, this is where I'm staying. Why don't you come and visit? He couldn't come off. He couldn't he couldn't even come down and get his mail. Everyone votes against me. It's all military. Oh, skinhead. It's like out of balance. Yes, inpatient treatment, right? But I'm not a doctor. I can't sign anybody in. And he has ended up there a few times. I mean, he tells the story about it's been so. The most important thing is my family. Well, I keep saying, if you want your family, if you want to get back with them, you need to go where they are and stay there and show your commitment to them. He goes down and spends a day or two or three. It's so difficult. I can't do it. Well, if you're really committed to your family, you man up and you get yourself a vagina. And I had a feminist friend of mine who would always say that. She said, man up, get a vagina. So, or ovaries, So he couldn't do it, because all he can think about in the moment is himself, how he feels, how anxious he is, how upset he is, or how ecstatic and happy he is, But he can never put one moment to moment together to get a perspective of what's going on in his life. So like this morning, the sun was rising. I have to have this meeting. I wanted to make a live chat with you guys first thing. And so I left about 7 a.m. and got here before the crowd showed up. So I get myself my favorite booth here. And he was like waiting for me. He said, where are you going? I said, I got people to see and I'm going to go to the library. I haven't been writing. And a bunch of ideas have come in my mind and I want to start writing. And the library has great computers. I mean, better than my little laptop. My laptop is great for me to sit under a tree in the deep green and write things and put it on a thumbstick and then go to some place with a real computer. I can put it in and the computer can read my mind and spell the words right without me. Anyway. So, he walked in on me and I'm meditating because when I wake up, my body, through meditation, I meditate 5-6 times a day. And that's what keeps my body together. Right? And so when I go to sleep, I meditate and I unplug. And I can sleep solid, meaning once I go into state, I go to that little fork on the road where I either go to deep sleep or I go to my Akashic record. And so every night I meditate. I go to the Akashic record. I evacuate all of whatever angst I might have, and then I go to sleep. And then I sleep solid, from whenever I go to sleep, somewhere between 10 and midnight. And I'll sleep until sunrise because it's that my little cell that I sleep in. It's this big window, and the sun comes up the east. So once it goes up the mountain, it lights up all of the forest in front of me, gold. So it's like very bright, reflects. It's like the whole room is gold. And I get up, and as soon as my little eyes pop up, my body is screaming in pain, right? Because when I go to sleep, I go into state, I unplug my autonomic system, and so my body can reset into the pain settings that they're at. And most people take, OxyContin for that. When I took the braces off my legs. So I said, this is going to be very painful. You're going to need to have, a morphine pump and 500 milligrams a day of OxyContin 3 times a day and blah blah. I said, no, I'm not going to do any of that. What? I said, yeah. So how are you going to deal with the pain? I'm going to meditate. And there's a little point in my ear and in my hand and in my thigh that when the pain's really bad, I will just do this. I will just do this. I'll just do this. Right? So anyway, when I wake up in the morning, I swing out of bed and I do this, I do this, I do that. Then I meditate, Right? Anyway, so John just walks in on me. I'm sitting on the couch, and he goes, I feel so bad, and it's all your fault. And I woke up with racing thoughts in my mind. And I said, John, why don't you sit down and meditate with me? All right, and he just went on, and I had already gotten up and, taken a shower and, gotten ready to go. All I had to do was get in the car. But before I left, I wanted to reset myself so I wouldn't be in pain. And that's when John walked in on me, right? And I just said, okay, have a good day, John. See you later. Where are you going? What are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to see some people. I'm going to go to the library and write. I'll be back around 4. I'll make you a nice dinner. And I said, see, I made you, there's still this rice pilaf, and there's this soup, and you got something very good for you to eat for the rest of the day. Eat some of this, right? He goes, I thought you'd make me one of those delicious egg sandwiches. I said, oh, got to go, John. So I just got in the car and drove away. I came here and talked to you. But that's what balance is about. You have to constantly reset yourself into balance, right? And I can't, my mom she had all of these great sayings, and one of them was, you can drag a horse to water, can't make him drink. And as a practitioner of shamanic healing over all these years, I found the best thing I can do is be a good example. Like when I lived with those rich folk, and I was their, sensei, shaman, my healing mostly was through example and listening. I said we all have to have dinner together every night as best as we can, right? And they're very good at that. The kids and the grandkids and the parents, they all, stopped their busy life and did that. And I would just listen to them, and we did the Iroquois circle, The guy was at the top and I was on this side, and I'd say, okay, I'd make a little prayer, we'd energize the food, and then we'd go around, right? And when you were talking, you weren't eating, and you could eat and listen, but if something important was coming, you should listen more and eat less. Anyway, so, look at that, 47 minutes and 47 seconds. I think I will talk until 50-50, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit more. What time is it? 9:20. I have to leave here around 10:15. So we'll talk a little more. So what's Rhonda saying here? Yes, that's pathological. He's stuck. Yep, you have to put so much energy in him, and he's not evolving. You're right, and that's why I leave, because I have this sense that, I'm enabling him, right? So that's why I keep leaving. I spend the 2 or 3 weeks while I have to get medically taken care of or take care of other little projects that I have ongoing here. And then I go away for at least a month, So I will leave here the first or second week of August, and I will stay away till October, because that's when my next round of medical things will be. And then I'll go away and, stay away as long as I can, until it gets really ridiculously cold. Now, I have other folks who have been saying, hey, let's go do something. I'm percolating plans with other people to go and do something, so I don't have to be with John for the winter, right? And so, and I don't expect anything to come through, but I got enough things percolating that something will, and the universe will take care of me, And so, That's kind of my plan. I have no plans. I own nothing and I have no plans. But I'm always busy because I'm always helping others because what makes me happy is making others happy. Giving them their perspective so they can see who they are, so they can be the best they can be. Uh, yes, he should. Well, he has changed a great deal from when he first bought the house in 2015. I mean, he has made an amazing change. It's just his out of balance Libraness that he's bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball. So, and he has to. I used to be a shrink, and really, you can't. I mean, that's why I stopped being a shrink because nothing can happen unless the person wants it to happen and realizes and changes themselves. Now, shrinks have become this transactional thing, and so I worked for this office where I was. They didn't pay any taxes because they had all of this. Um, they would help people in jails and prisons and all this stuff that county wanted, and they would do it on the tab, right? But none of the people who owned that practice wanted to do it. They didn't want to deal with those people, right? And they didn't want to deal with the courts with the people who needed somebody to represent those people. But I did it, and because I did it so well, their practice got a lot of wow. These guys are great, right? But no, it was because I was doing it, right? And at a certain point, they said, you're really good at this. So why don't you start doing some of our paying customers? I said, okay. So I did, and that's how I got that family who paid me $1,800 a week. And I basically said, listen, I'm not going to do this forever. We're going to have a set amount of time that I'm going to do this, and you have to get to a place where you can do it yourself, right? And that's what I did in this practice. I worked on people and I got them out of their office. And the owner said, Al, you're doing a great job, but we need to keep these people in coming every week and paying us $200 an hour. You were helping them to the point where they leave seeing us. And that's making a little dent on our cash flow. So these guys weren't in it to help people. No, they were in it for their cash flow, right? And when they said that, I said, okay, that's it. I'm out of here. They said, what do you mean? This is one of the most prestigious offices in the city. You really want to, this is your career. I said, no, it isn't. This ain't my career. This is something that I did because of certain circumstances, and I had the opportunity to get this degree and to get this experience and to learn, and that's why I did it, to learn, and to help people, not to, get a house in the Hamptons and a swimming pool and a Porsche like you. And he was like, and I said, okay, here's the key, save up. He goes, you can't just leave. What about all your clients? I said, no, everybody in all those other places, I already got them healing themselves. I already got people in those administrations to do what I do. This whole mechanism doesn't need me anymore. I'm moving on. And that guy couldn't believe. He said, but you could make 200 grand a year. And I said, that's not what I'm here for. And people don't understand that. John really doesn't. Like, why do you do all the things you do? You're not making any money. It's costing me. Really? Mm-hmm. And see, the energy I put into him, I actually get more. Not, get a place to stay or any of the above. No. But like he is my simulator. I'm testing out, I'm talking about the alternative aesthetic. He's my little, simulator. I test things out, how I talk, how I act, how I interact. And he really, he is the canary in the coal mine. He really does represent the American gestalt, He is the zeitgeist of America. John, just him alone. So that's really what I get out of John. And I write a great deal of theoretical material about this, And so, where would I get that kind of laboratory. Yeah, very difficult. Be a lot more. Um, and he's my friend. I don't give up on friends. Now I've been going away more because I don't want to enable him. He has to deal with it. And maybe he will come to a point. But he's been his little scale has been going nuts. Back and forth at least 5, 10, 15 times a day. And so part of you have to get a person to break through. And so I'm here for the next few weeks, and he does more of this. Maybe he'll get to a point where he breaks through and can balance himself out. And that's kind of what the United States needs. And, Donnie Trump is the person who's creating this, and I mean, every day he's, and every day he's doing 20 different things that would get the average politician thrown out. And he's normalizing certain things, but he's getting, maybe the American public will break through. They should have broken through with what Obama was doing. Donnie was right to question his birth certificate. Guys, Obama's probably some genetic manufactured thing, and the Clintons and all of these. There is no difference between going all the way back to Andrew Jackson to today. They are the same corporate entity, because that's what the Civil War was about. Whether we were going to be an agrarian or corporate society, and you guys should go look at HRS 1871. And that's when the District of Columbia was created. And, the world is run by, there's the Vatican City, there's the City of London, and there's DC. Those three run, so the Vatican City owns your soul. The City of London owns your everything monetary, i.e., thank you, Mr. Rothschild, for giving us centralized fractional banking. And DC is the Darth Vader land, centered on the Pentagon, Anyway, so, and Donnie Trump is like, he is so, what's the disruptor? He's going to kind of break through this, and the squad, those 4 women, they would have just been the same old same, but because of Donnie, they're like stepping up like nobody else, right? So this is great. So they're showing the leadership that women, are, and they're showing the leadership of diversity, and this is all good. Whether we got a choice. Either we're going to be the better angel, or the devil and end up as a mushroom cloud, which is not so bad. And I tried to explain a nun when I was in first grade this, and she throttled me and broke the orbit of my eye and my jaw, and and that's that was a pretty it got me out of not going to Catholic grammar schools, and I went off to study with Maryknoll priests who were amazing scholars, and amazing human beings. The Maryknoll order is one of the better orders. They're in to serve all our relations in love's co-creation. So anyway, Thomas Merton, who was my mom's boyfriend. My mom got Thomas Merton to be a priest. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. 58 minutes and 29 seconds. 60 is when I'll bail out. Having a midlife crisis on top of cray. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, you almost have to get worse before you break through. But no, you should have seen him when he first got up there. It was like, wow. So, and things that I keep saying, we're at this window of 18 months. We're now down to 17 months. It took 3 months to get to 17 months. But, and that goes for us all. We all have this window, right? So I'm preparing myself. I'm helping you, the cadre, to prepare yourself to be that pebble in the pond. So he is now also having, yep. Oh, he's been having a midlife crisis since he was like 11. Because he wants to be a child. I don't want to be a man. I want to be a child. Well, there's something good about having, as I grew up, I always thought everyone thought like I did, until I was about 50. And I realized that I'm very naive in that I believe everything people tell me. But with Ronald Reagan, I really learned this great thing, trust but verify. I trust everybody, but, and I can read people like a book, you know. And so that helps a lot. So, and every day I bump into really nasty people and I can read them straight up front and I can see whether I can help them or not. And if I can't, I just keep walking. If I can, I kind of, hey, how you doing, buddy? And I will annoy them to the point where they break through and then they cry and they talk to me and they're much better, right? And that's part of my job too, to talk to everyone, the waitress, the person on the line at the supermarket, the whole thing, right? And it's not just John. He's not the only person I'm helping. Like what? So, oh, look at that. Okay, it's almost time. It's 60 almost. Yeah, pearls before the swine, but that's okay. So just keep throwing the pebbles in the pond, gang. Be that ripple. That changes everything. That's what the cadre is all about. So say we all. I love you guys. I'll see you tonight around 7:30, okay? And of course, John will try to hijack the show like he did last night. But all I do is turn the camera on him, ask him a few questions. He kind of goes into a tizzy and then runs away. And then comes back accusatively maybe 10, 15 minutes later. And then I kind of, slowly and calmly, logically, deconstruct it. And he freaks out and runs away. So, if he watches this, he'll spend all day, building up a head of steam of how terrible I am and how dare I and doubt it because he wants to be, you're always, the star of the show. Even on your own channel, you don't let me talk. I said, sure, John, you can say whatever you want. And, and when I made you famous, and he did, he showed me what was going on. And the only reason I kind of started Dreamy Dreamland, just one reason, is that he gave me no control. All he did was, and he edited everything I said. I do live chats. I do no editing. I have no wrench. Everyone gets to talk. Now, there's one good person has somehow been blocked, and I didn't do it. And if I did, it's just like I hit a button without knowing what I'm doing because I have no idea what I'm doing. And so he's come back with a different name, and that's good. But he feels like I'm picking on him because I have no idea what I'm doing. Right? But he's a good guy. So you're all good guys. That's what I love about the cadre. What I love about the cadre is that they are totally. We aren't a tribe. We are totally, unbelievably different. Anyway, so it's time to go. I'm going to leave at 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 44 seconds. That's in a few ticks of the clock. Yep. And I'm glad you're part of the cadre, Rhonda. Remember, gang, you can get a hold of me at thedudewake42@gmail if you want a personal kind of conversation. That's not in a worldwide chat here. And always go to my xratted.blogspot.com to read my writings. And I have a friend who we're trying to figure out how to make Griot Publishing really into a publishing so you guys can put stuff on there too. What else? Try and get, watch, Dreamy Dreamland. I have so many shows up. You don't even have to wait. Whatever time you want, just go to the channel and go and whatever show it stops at, watch that one. And do it with a group, because if you watch this with a group, whenever you're together, when more than two people have that power, and that's kind of what shamanic power is. So if in your own little neighborhoods, you need to starting things like book clubs or watching Dreamy Dreamland clubs, or start your own salon, your own coffee shop, whatever. In Roanoke, not Roanoke, in Asheville, back in the day, there was no restaurants downtown, and we just found a burned out bus and painted it blue. That was the first, that became salsa. The guy who was cooking was this heroin addict who was unbelievable cook. And the rich people who would come and go elbow to elbow with the homeless folk, basically, hey, listen, we own this building, on Patton Avenue, and the ground floor and make a great restaurant. We'll pay for everything. We just want him to cook for us, so we can just come straight down from our office building and go have lunch without having to be elbow to elbow with. And at first he said, no, I'm going to, but I said, no, well, sure, we'll do that. And so you need to do the same thing. I had for years, I would go into a neighborhood that had no food, no place, nobody was coming together. I'd find some abandoned building, and I would start what I would call either a zombie nightclub or a dumpster dive restaurant, which I physically got the food out of dumpsters. New York City, up until the year 2002, the dumpsters were like a cornucopia of food. Let's see. Yeah, we all want to see John get better. So, when he, hijacks the show, and that's what we do, If you guys would speak more kindly to him, But see, he can take the most kindest thing you try to say to them as some kind of affront or attack, it's really amazing. But, again, it's my little, trainer, simulator, experimental lab, So, okay, guys, it's now, okay, we're coming up on, when it hits 6, I'm out of here. Okay, I love you guys. It's at 666. Always a good time.